Hello, all. Thank you all for joining us. It feels like in person now to say, for those that are here in the Zoom room, feels like thanks for being here in person. Can you imagine soon, someday, we will be together again in Sangha and sitting retreats and practicing together in real space. So welcome to those of you on the Zoom call and to those practicing or watching, listening after on YouTube, if you are. My name is Jill Davey, and I'm one of the Dharma teachers with True North Insight, and thanks for tuning in. So today was one of those days where I was kind of floundering for a topic. I had a few things that were floating, but not really like I have to feel pretty connected to it. It needs some juice in my heart and mind for me to really to be able to offer something that feels relevant or helpful. And so it's a bit of a show and tell show and tell practice tonight. So I'm staying down here in Toronto for a few weeks, and I'm right across the street from the St. Lawrence Market, which is awesome in some ways. And there's a lovely couple that have a stand there. They've been there for years, and they're from Nepal, and they sell crafts and handiworks from their country of origin. And yeah, they're very sweet. And so I have a couple of things. I bought myself a little travel meditation bell. It won't sound very good because I don't have my Zoom settings on, but it's quite a sweet little sounding bell, but I don't have the right Zoom settings on, so it might not sound as good as it does in person. And but this is what I wanted to talk about tonight is this little sweetheart. So this, you should be able to see it there. This figure is called, I have trouble pronouncing it, but Avalokiteshvara, which is the name for what's called a bodhisattva, a Buddha, a being who's on the path to becoming a Buddha, a fully enlightened being. Buddha means awakened one. And so a bodhisattva who is one that is taken a vow or stated their intention, depends on different lineages in Buddhism, what exactly that means, but they're on their way to becoming a Buddha in short. This is in short. And so wanted to say a little bit about some of the meanings of this deity, this representation, this pointing in the teachings that comes from this is represented in this figure. And so this one is called a four-armed Avalokiteshvara, and some of them are, they're called 1,000-armed. And so in the figures, some paintings, they managed to pull that off. But in figurines, it sometimes has like 100 arms or just many arms all around it. This one has 4 arms. So you can see 2 of the arms come up here in front of the heart and are holding a jewel between the palms. And then they have 2 other arms. One's coming up here and is holding a lotus flower right there. And then this other arm is holding mala beads in the shape of a figure 8. So mala beads would be like prayer beads or mantra beads. Mala beads are called. And they're also sitting on a lotus. So this figure is one that it really has moved across time and through all the different lineages of Buddhism. And so it's sometimes known as male, sometimes identified as female, and so some would say a non-binary type of deity because it changes depending on location and through time. And also is known as Kuan Yin in Mahayana Buddhism. In Tibetan Buddhism, it's this is named Chenrezig. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. My apologies. And so, yeah, there's many other names which I won't attempt. But if you're familiar, most have heard of, may have more likely heard of Kuan Yin, and that's so this is a representation of compassion. The translation of that, the name in Sanskrit or in Theravada Buddhism, Avalokiteshvara, means the one who looks on with compassion or looks down with compassion. And also because of the many arms is one who responds with compassion. So not just looking down with compassion or looking on with the heart of compassion, but is responding to the cries of the world. And so this jewel that's between the palms and held at the heart, this is, in some traditions, this would have come from a Tibetan tradition, the chant Om Mani Padme Hum, which you may have heard of, which means, Mani, it means jewel, and Padme means heart. So it's the connecting to the jewel of the lotus heart, the infinitely expanding, the 1,000-petaled lotus of the heart, the infinite capacity of the heart to connect to each other and to the cries of the world. And the jewel, another place you have heard perhaps of the reference to jewel in Buddhism, is the three jewels of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So this means the jewel of the Buddha, it refers to our Buddha nature, the teaching of a human, Siddhartha Gautama, who became a Buddha, an awakened being, points to this possibility for us to also awaken, to also be free from suffering, that the Buddha is not a god or a deity. The Buddha was a person like us. And so the Buddha is considered one of the jewels, and the Dhamma means, in Sanskrit that would be called Dharma, Pali it's Dhamma, is means all the teachings, all the practices, all the teachings and practices, to keep it short. And then the third jewel is the Sangha, which is us, community, us popping up here on a screen, showing up, connecting with our intentions for wisdom and kindness and freedom and a better world for all beings. So this is Sangha, community. And so that could be one of the representations of this jewel that's held in between these two palms at the heart center, representing the jewel of the lotus heart. And then the other one of the four hands that's holding this lotus flower, some say it's a white lotus flower, so it represents purity. And as you may know, lotuses grow from the mud. They grow in the water out of very muddy, dark waters. And so a lotus represents this life, humanity. It's pretty mucky. It's pretty muddy sometimes, the suffering, and that non-duality. So that at the top of the water, this white lotus blooming, opening, totally connected to the mud, not separate from it. It grows in the mud, with the mud, from the mud, and yet it is not covered in mud when it's opened at the top of the water. So this lotus represents that non-duality, purity, the purity also of our precepts and ethics, and represents wisdom. Yeah. These are all in short, of course. There's much more could be said about these things. And then the other of the four hands is holding that mala bead. So it's a chain of beads that some people use if they have a mantra that they're chanting. And so this represents the practice of meditation and the constant repetition of skillfulness. It's not like a strand, it's a continuous loop bead that continues and continues and continues, and we keep repeating and we keep beginning again, and we keep making amends, and we keep, you know, meeting the path over and over and over and over again. Yeah, so that's some of what's represented in this beautiful figurine. And when this figure is represented with the 1,000 hands, 1,000 arms, and sometimes there's 11 heads as well. So that, and all of the hands have an eye in the hand, so they can really see and respond to all the suffering in the world. And so this being a figure that's reminding us of compassion, that compassion is not sorrow. It's not, what's the other word? It can sound so overwhelming, responding to all the cries of the world. It's like already I'm like, oh, what? How's that possible? I can't even deal with my family or myself and all of this suffering, and so it can feel really overwhelming, and we shut down. And one of the things that's considered a near enemy of compassion is pity, where, if with pity, we feel a contraction, like, oh, I'm so sorry, as if that's happening to someone over there, and we pull away, our heart contracts, and we feel like, oh, that's so awful, I'm so sorry. And there's just a kind of a shutting down that can happen, a collapsing into ourselves. Whereas compassion opens the heart, we respond naturally. There's some response that arises when we see suffering. So they seem close. That's why it's called a near enemy. It seems like it might be compassion because it's related to suffering, but true compassion sees that there's no separation, that we are all on this same path of humanity, and that we all will experience suffering, and that we all want to take care of each other. Yeah, so we'll use this as some inspiration for our practice tonight. To one of my favorite compassion practices that resonates for me is one that I heard from Jill Shepherd on the 3-month retreat at IMS. And it's very accessible, and it's a compassionate practice. It's already built into how she teaches it. It's so kind. And so she uses these 4 frames of reference: aware, care, release, peace. So it's kind of easy to remember: aware, care, release, peace. And so the first part of it is, I'm aware of this pain, or this sadness, or this grief, or this fear, this worry, whatever the flavor of suffering is in that moment. And so that can be our own suffering, or someone else's, or a group of beings, the earth itself, whatever you feel touched by in the moment as we're practicing this tonight. And then the second part is, I care about this pain or this suffering. And so there we really want to check, do I really care about it? Or am I kind of giving lip service, especially when it comes to ourselves? Like, am I aware of it? Do I feel this in my heart and body and mind? And can I really turn towards it with compassion, self-compassion, or compassion for others? And then the next part of it is release. And with this part, it's not getting rid of. It's not like, may this pain release, like, can you please get out of my life? Because it's not that's more dukkha, right? That's more aversion. It's actually, the way this release happens is by letting it be known in a bigger container, ABC, a bigger container. So we allow it just to be known, and we'll go through this practice together with a spacious attention, rather than the contraction that can happen when we are really pushing or holding on to suffering. And just in that spaciousness, some release can happen. And then the last part of the practice that Jill Shepherd offers is peace. So it's aware, care, release, peace. And for that peace part of the meditation, we will reflect on, use our imagination, our memory, our intention to really let ourselves recall a time of peace, the intention for peace, and let that be known as a present moment sensation in the heart and mind. And please, encouragement to do some Google searches. Maybe it's on YouTube or something, of Jill Shepherd doing this teaching. You can probably find it on Dharma Seed. In the YouTube, I'll try and find a link for her meditation of this and share it down under this recording. She gives a very comprehensive teaching that is, I'm not doing justice to how wonderful that practice is. So encouragement to check that out. All right, I think that's all for an intro. Let's practice with Avalokiteshvara or Kuan Yin, whatever compassion deity calls to your heart awareness tonight, or today, whenever you're watching this. So this is one of the Brahma Vihara practices, the heart abode practices, and it's very helpful, encouraged, recommended that you support your body in a really comfortable way. So not to sit in a way that's striving. If you're having any pain, please, you could lay down. You might like to dim your lights. You might like to turn away from the computer. So take a moment here to get comfortable and support yourself. And I know some of us struggle with sleepiness in the evening. And I would say for this practice, if you fall asleep, it's okay. The Dharma is still here, and maybe unconsciously, just let yourself rest. If you're that tired, it's okay. Let's not fight it tonight for this practice. Just let it go. Be gentle with yourself, please. All right. So as you're settling into your posture, taking any movements that you might need to release any tension in the shoulders or neck. If you're wanting to lay down for this practice, but also would really want to be staying awake, you could raise your forearm up from the ground or couch or bed that you're on, so that will drop as you're falling asleep and gently help you begin again. And so as your body feels ready to come into stillness, you're also finding a resting place for your eyes. You may like to close your eyes or rest your eyes down, or rest your eyes on something beautiful or a little figurine of compassion if you have one. And we're just not hurrying into the practice, but just taking time to arrive in this stillness with this heart intention. And so you could just check in gently to see if there's any tension in your face that isn't needed right now, that could just widen, soften, release. As your face becomes a little more easeful, perhaps your neck and shoulders could relax. The sides and back of the neck lengthening and the shoulders dropping down. You might find it helpful to take a few slightly deeper breaths to invite in some softening in the heart center or in the belly center. Soft belly. As much as is possible for you in this moment. And as we invite in this stillness and settling, ease, softening, we may feel more connected now with the support of the ground. And perhaps this image of sitting in the center of 1,000-petaled lotus. And this is very optional. It's just an invitation if it resonates for you. You might like to bring your palms together in front of your heart with a soft space between your palms, as if you're holding that jewel of the figurine. Letting the thumbs touch the breastbone, the center of the chest. Inviting in this jewel, this triple gem. Jewels that are considered to be indestructible. Of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the potential, the possibility of our freedom from suffering, the teachings that show us the way, and this community that supports us right now and in every moment. So you could just imagine that, feel that in your heart, or bring your hands into this mudra, this shape, or just place a palm or over your head, your heart. We'll just take a few moments in silence here to connect to this part of the intention. The jewel in the lotus heart. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Feeling that your compassionate heart is not separate from anyone else's. This heart that responds, hears, and responds to the cries of the world, which include your own. Include your own. And you could imagine in your other two hands holding the lotus flower, this offering of non-duality, wisdom, and purity. And your other hand holding meditation or mala beads of reminding us of practice and the constant repetition of skillfulness. Or you could feel radiating around you 1,000 arms and hands responding with compassion. In all directions. No one left out. And feel free to rest your hands in whatever way feels comfortable for you, or keep them where they are. Really make this your own connection. And then just allow for each one of us individually to connect with whatever the heart wishes to respond to in this moment. Maybe someone you know that is suffering in some way. It may be yourself. Please don't exclude yourself. Maybe a group of people. Maybe the earth. Just allow whatever is arising to touch your heart, whoever it is. And let that being stand in for all those that we wish and connect with. And the first part of this practice from Jill Shepherd is, I am aware of this pain. So to whatever degree you're able to, allowing this to be known in the heart, body, mind. The sensations in the body. Not needing to feed the story or the backstory or get caught in anything with it. Just gently aware. I am aware of this pain. And as much as is available, I care about this pain. Sometimes this can feel overwhelming. So we might, especially if we're practicing this with ourselves, do we really allow ourselves to care about this? Can we just titrate that, just touch into it, and then rest back into the body. Feel the ground beneath you, or open your eyes if you feel overwhelmed. To whatever degree is available right now, I care about this pain. And I release this pain. That it's not me and mine or mine to hold. It is the cries of the world. We let it open and release into boundless space. Not to contract around it, hold on to it, or push it away. And so we can start that with small degrees of just even feeling the literal space of the room you're in right now. You can feel there's space between your physical form and the walls, the ceiling, windows and doors, and just let it be as wide as the space in the room. It's like perfume molecules dissipating into that space. And if you're able to, it might even feel wider than that, beyond the space you're in, a bigger container, sense of sky, sense of all of us connecting together, releasing it so it's not just mine to hold. I am aware of this pain. I care about this pain. I release this pain. And then you're practicing self-compassion. May I be at peace. May I know peace. May I invite peace. And if you're practicing with someone else or other beings, may you be at peace. May you know peace. May you invite peace. And so here we allow ourselves to really recall that there have been times of peace. We have known peace. Others have known times of peace. And what does that feel like in our heart, mind, body right now? Recall that possibility and invite in this aspiration, wish, intention. And as you release your next breath, letting go of that person or group or self that your heart was connecting with. And then we can just do this one more time on your own, allowing some other being to arise in your awareness. If you haven't included yourself yet, you might do that now. And then for this next several minutes, I will be quiet and you can just guide yourself. Aware, care, release, peace. Or you might like to just rest with that felt experience of the jewel in the lotus heart, or the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. I, may you, may all beings respond to the cries of the world. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be safe. May all beings understand our interconnectedness. Thank you if you've joined us on the YouTube channel for this practice. I'll put some links down below for Jill Shepherd's teaching. If I can find it on Dharma Seed, I think I'll be able to. Encouragement to check that out. And I'll put the spelling of Avalokiteshvara. And there's also links there to offer support to myself to continue offering Dharma in this way. So thank you for that. All right. And there we go.